Alright, Schlockmeister fans, another chainsaw movie. Old review from my previous channel. Let's check it out. Texas Chainsaw. Let's watch. So basically our film starts out as a direct sequel to the original 1974 film. And we get some a recap. Our film starts actually right after the events of the first film. So take you back to 1974.
Hey, Sheriff, this is Marvin.
The cops have come for Leatherface.
That bitch when you get away.
Unfortunately, there's also some vigilante justice going on, where the local townsfolk are trying to eliminate the Sawyer family altogether. The house goes up in flames. They're all killed except one of the Sawyers had a baby daughter.
Found her. Brought her up.
Alexandra Daddario plays Heather. That's the little girl all grown up.
Texas is the last place she went.
This is her mother, or adoptive mother. She got a letter saying her grandmother passed away. She didn't even know she was adopted. So she and her friends decide to go to Texas, or New Texas, and along the way they pick up a hitchhiker. I think his name is Daryl. Well, the gang arrives. It turns out she inherited a house. Pretty nice house. In the backyard, there's a cemetery filled with Sawyers. At one point, they leave the hitchhiker back at the house. He's going to stay with them for a while, and turns out he's a thief. He makes his way into the basement and makes a grisly discovery. Leatherface. The gang gets back in the store. And we get another death. Meanwhile, this chick is trying to seduce him.
Told you it was fucked up.
Back in the house, she finds the body of her grandmother. What the hell? And then Heather meets her cousin Leatherface, who's busy chopping off fingers. Heather takes off into the cemetery, and I believe that's why Grandma was in the living room, because Leatherface had dug her up.
Did you hit him?
That didn't work. Two ladies are the last survivors in the truck there. And we find out that Leatherface is pretty strong. Heather takes off running, and Leatherface chases her through the county fair. Ends up with her on the Ferris wheel. Here comes a 3D sequence. She ends up at the police station where
Some fucking crazy just tore up the carnival. I need to know what the police is gonna
a
do.
box of evidence was pulled up from the events from 20 years earlier. So Heather learns all about her past, her history, what happened that night at the Sawyers, and who she is. They send a cop over to the house, and well, he basically live streams what he sees.
What a fruitcake.
And here she finds out exactly who she is. Back at the house, our cop starts to find some grisly things. He finds the freezer where the one girl was thrown. Oops.
Shit.
Leatherface is getting a new face from the cop. Which he sews to his own face.
Is Jedediah Sawyer. Goes by Jed.
Leatherface.
He's your cousin. For years I suspected something, but I never knew for sure about Jed until about 4 months ago.
She's right here. You going somewhere, precious? Huh? Huh?
She's in the back. What do you want me to do with her?
Cop picks her up.
Take her up to the slaughterhouse. Hold her.
Turns out the cop is not on her side.
Good.
He brings her to the slaughterhouse and strings her up.
Don't tell me.
And then Leatherface shows up. He recognizes the birthmark. So he knows that she's family. Now they're gonna kill Leatherface.
You remember me?
And now Leatherface is kind of a good guy. So Heather reads a letter from her grandmother. Basically, Grandma took care of Leatherface. Leatherface protected Grandma, and now Heather needs to fill that role.
Blood wrote, he is family bound and will protect you. He simply requires your care in return.
What kind of money? Almost due.
Our film ends with a prologue scene with her adoptive parents coming to visit to try to get money from her. All right. Let's talk about the movie Texas Chainsaw. I've seen this movie twice now. It came out in 2013. I believe this is the 7th movie in the Texas Chainsaw series. I've done the first 4 now. The 5th one was a remake, and then the 6th one I think was a prequel to the remake. And the 7th one here is actually a sequel to the original 1974 film, I believe. It's a direct sequel, which basically ignored all the other sequels that came after, which some of those weren't really sequel, whatever in the cases. Anyway, it starts out shortly after 1974, the events of the first film. The sheriffs tried to go there to arrest everybody, but before they could do anything, they were about to comply. There was some vigilante justice, and everybody just basically shot up the Sawyer residence, the cannibal residence, killed everybody inside. I think did they torch the place? I can't remember, but apparently a baby survived. There was a woman, part of the family. They killed her, but her baby survived, and the baby was taken away by this other couple who basically raised her. She grew up to be Alexandra Daddario, or whatever the hell her name is. Beautiful, beautiful actress, by the way. You might remember her in one of those True Detective series on HBO. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, fast forward about 20 years later. She is an adult now, and she gets word that her grandmother, who she didn't even really know existed, named Clara Sawyer or something like that, died, and she's inherited a house. Basically, the whole rest of the family's dead, so she's the only one left. She didn't even know she was adopted or anything, so she looks into it, and then she and her friends decide to go out to Newt, Texas, N-E-W-T, to see this inheritance. And it's a pretty good-sized house. I don't want to say a mansion, but it looks like it's in pretty good shape, actually. And her friends, or a bunch of 20-somethings, go there to hang out. Well, unbeknownst to her, Leatherface still lives there. He lives in the basement in this secret place. They had actually picked up a hitchhiker who was stealing from them. He actually discovered the basement, and Leatherface, he pried open this door down there and got killed immediately for his actions. Apparently, Mrs. Sawyer had been feeding Leatherface periodically, keeping him in the basement, keeping him safe, and he kept her safe, I guess, guarded over her all these years. He's kind of kept like an animal in the basement because he's not very bright and wields chainsaws. So, anyway, Leatherface is on the loose now, and next thing you know, people are getting picked off. Some of the townspeople who are back, who are, you know, part of that vigilante group, that posse 20 years earlier, are panicking, and things are happening. And ultimately, one of the cops is in on it too. They're going to, and they end up having to, they're going to kill, what's her name, Heather? I can't remember her name, but then Leatherface comes. And basically, the two of them, Leatherface kind of becomes a good guy, for lack of a better term. They kill some of the bad guys there who get shoved into a meat grinder. And basically, you know, Heather says, you know, she tosses the chainsaw to Leatherface at one point when Leatherface was about to be killed, and says, you know, do what you do, cuz. And then he basically saved her, and they saved each other. And then one of the last scenes is the two of them like walking back to the house. She reads a letter that her grandmother sent her, basically explaining what's going on. Leatherface stays in the basement. You protect him, he'll protect you. So I guess that's how she's going to live out her life. After the credits roll in this movie, there's a last scene where her parents, her adoptive parents, who are apparently very loving to her, show up at the house to see how they're doing, and they're talking, boy, with this kind of money, I really could love her, you know, and let's just tell her we love her, blah, blah, blah. Well, they ring the doorbell, and of course, Leatherface with the chainsaw answers the door, and that's how our movie fades to black. There you go. That is Texas Chainsaw. You know what? I don't think the critics thought very highly of this movie. You go on Rotten Tomatoes, they don't think very highly of this movie. But you know what? I really enjoyed this romp. It was really kind of fun. It just seemed like a very typical, even like an 80s slasher movie. There was a couple of scenes I really liked. The one where Leatherface kind of just came out of the woods and was chasing with the chainsaw this couple into a barn area. That just seemed very 80s, almost like a Friday the 13th, Jason stalking you type of thing. I kind of enjoyed it. Our lead actress is, like I said, very beautiful, easy on the eyes. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I don't know what I can tell you about it. So anyway, that is Texas Chainsaw. That's about it. So anyway, I'm sure this is available on Blu-ray now. I'll leave a link to something down below if you want to click it and buy it. But yeah, you should check this movie out. I quite enjoyed it. Leave some comments and let me know what you think about Texas Chainsaw. Oh, by the way, this movie was also in 3D in the theaters at the time. And watching it today, there's only one scene I noticed that even looked like, reminded me, oh yeah, this was 3D. That's a scene where Leatherface throws his chainsaw and it kind of like flips and comes towards you and stuff. But other than that, nothing stood out as, oh, that must have been cool in 3D. But maybe the chainsaw would have been it. Check it out, leave some comments. Texas Chainsaw, watch it. Bye.